Have you ever took a journey to the other side? Come on, take a ride. Have you ever took a journey? We gon' feel alive.
Hey, welcome to Breakfast with the Boys. I'm Tony the Thrill Hill. I'm glad to have you guys back, and I got a great cast, a great crew to work with today. I'm really looking forward to it. But unfortunately, I'm going to be riding solo, man. I'm going to be without my point guard, the guy by my side who keeps us in check, keeps us online. If you've seen us before, you know, I go in tangents, you know, and today my goal is to stay focused and let them talk. And so I'm gonna tell you a little bit about our guest over here, just to have some fun. Number one, I am a gentleman, and by not necessarily by. Well, no, I'm gonna say I am a gentleman. How about that? I'm smarter than I look, right?
It's questionable.
Yeah.
He already on it.
I almost messed up on that, but hey.
Just leave it at that, Tony.
For a father of four who's got three girls and a boy, or three young ladies and a boy, I've got a little bit of savvy. So I'm going to start off with a young lady that I know well. I would say exceptionally well, but I think she's smarter than well, I know she's smarter than she looks, and she looks beautiful. Wait a minute. So that's how intelligent you are. Because you look beautiful. Let's get it.
You're already being apologetic.
If you guys don't stop.
Where's Anthony?
They got jokes. I like it. Well, as you know, part of the things that I talked about is that we pretty much were traditional by just doing interviews, so to speak. And our last podcast, we kind of kept it open and it flowed. And so the bottom line is just we're going to have fun. And I'm going to introduce one of our guests. Her name is Brandy O'Keefe. She went to Centenary University. Yeah, if you guys know Robert Parrish, the chief basketball, you guys might be a little too young for him, but I think that's their claim to fame over there. But, you know.
Or me, Tony.
Well, I was going to get to you. I'll let you do your own thing. You know, slow down. Just slow down over here. She majored in psychology and health, a Division I soccer player. So, you know, she's a little bit competitive. Two masters, as a matter of fact, one in sports psychology and one in sports management. She's currently the director of the Convention and Visitor Bureau of the city of Allen. But here's another thing that you might want to know about her. She plays fantasy football. She plays the NCAA bracket. She finished second in her fantasy football league. She finished third in the NCAA bracket. And a golf tournament. Now, I got to share this with you, Brandy, before you elaborate, is that we work together. And I used to have a golf tournament, a putt-putt golf tournament in the office, okay? Just something to keep people going. And everybody enjoyed it. But I had to do one thing on this. I had to implement a rule. It's called the NC rules. No crying, no complaining. Because she was so competitive. She was always saying, why are we doing this? You can't do that. What are you doing? I said, no more. No complaining. It is what it is.
It was constructive criticism.
Thank you very
that
much.
was the other NC.
NC for no cheating, right? No cheating.
Right.
No one cheat.
Tony.
Not you.
Yeah.
Oh.
So don't give away
It's more related to you.
Right.
I played in those tournaments before. I've lived it.
No, we're not talking about in a scramble where you just put your own points in.
Right.
We're talking about an open course. On the floor.
It was through the office, and Tony would cut out felt green space felt like sand. He had it. It was elaborate. It was fantastic.
It looked much worse than what she's talking about. I promise you. But it sounds good, you know. But, you know, hey, and the thing about it, Brandy knows sports, or at least she thinks she knows sports, and I believe she knows sports. And so I have one other friend of mine. There are some friends from California, my very close friends, matter of fact, part family, Rod, Darlene Joyner. She's the only woman that I know that I'd put on this show that can really get down and talk dirty in terms of what you want to talk about, the nitty gritty. So, Brandy, welcome to Breakfast with the Boys.
Thank you. I thought this was a murder podcast, so sports? Are we doing sports?
Thank you very much. Right. I shared that with you so you wouldn't be so prepared, you know.
Thank you. Yeah.
Hey, our next guest is Joshua Liggins, a good friend of the family. He and my son are very, very close. He went to Cornerstone University, got a business degree. Played basketball over in Saudi Arabia. You know, I mean, how do you play basketball in Saudi Arabia?
It was indoor, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was indoor. A lot of AC.
Yeah.
And during the winter, you know. And he's a director of franchising, and he's going to talk some. He's from Detroit, you know. That's right. So he's got a different. He's got a different feel.
The real D.
Don't excuse him for that standpoint. And then my next guest, one of our Dallas Cowboys, without a question, famous Dallas Cowboys, was drafted second in the NFL by the Atlanta Falcons, but we won't talk much about that. Played 5 years with the Falcons, played 5 years with the Cowboys, and played a couple years with the Jets. And big time, when I say that, he's a two-time All-American. He's a national champion, a Lombardi Award winner, 2 Super Bowl rings. Wow. Oklahoma and college Hall of Famer. Wow. Only Hall of Fame thing I got is at my high school. But hey,
they need to change that.
We have to work on it.
We know you're a Hall of Famer in our book.
But
that's
anyway,
a crime.
I got it in the office. It says Hall of Fame. So just in case.
Your golf tournament too. You made that Hall of Fame.
Oh, there you go. This girl's good. This girl's good. But Tony Casillas, guys. And Tony, welcome to our show over here.
Hey, it's great to be here. Based on everyone's resume, I know I'm definitely not the smartest one at this table. It's great to be here.
Well, that's coming from Oklahoma. That had nothing to do with just. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. There might be somebody watching from Oklahoma. I want to be sure.
You're all about jokes, man. You're all about jokes.
Hey. So to clear the air, let's get everybody rocking and rolling. I got notes. Okay, when I saw it, I didn't need notes. I just followed his lead. I got notes. And so what we're going to do, just to get things started right now, we're going to talk a little bit about everything, i.e. NBA, NFL, the draft, NIL, youth sports. But, to get everybody just a little idea about who you are, I'd like to ask you guys one question. And that question is, I'd like you to tell our audience 2 things that people don't know about you. All right? And so I will break the ice. How about that? I will break the ice. 2 things that I don't think people know about me is, 1, I used to play the clarinet.
Shut up.
Really?
Tony, I didn't even know that. Are you serious?
The clarinet. My dad gave me a clarinet, just broke my heart because I didn't want to play the clarinet. Now I had to play for 3 years.
He made you?
Made me. It was either that or Glee Club
I heard you sing. I heard you sing.
I'm great in the garage, but when I get outside the garage or the car,
how about the drums? This seems a little bit more.
The clarinet. That's exactly the 2 things that people don't know about. And the other one is that I hate vegetables. I hate peas, any kind of peas. Black-eyed peas, green peas, split peas, peas. I hate it with a question. So with that being said, Brandy, I'm throwing the mic at you.
I got to go next.
You got to go.
You took all mine with my intro. I used to work with Tony Hill. I played Division I soccer. Those were mine. So I'll go with.
You can't share anything worse than you used to play the clarinet.
Right, so. I know, exactly. Yeah,
it's only up from there.
I would have lost money on that one for sure.
That's cool, man. That's cool.
Yeah. So I've had 11 surgeries. I'll go with that one.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was small for Division I soccer, so I was 5 foot nothing and 100 maybe pounds, and so that was it. I was a rag doll around there, and I was a little.
I told
feisty,
you she was honorary. I told you guys.
It's a physical game at soccer.
For sure. So.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah, that's one. My other, I also hate peas. I'll go with that one too. So
you're wimping out.
I know
on me.
I am wimping
that's,
out.
Brandy.
I'll keep thinking about it. Yeah. Well, sports psychology was going to be my other one. Is why I wanted to study sports psychology. It was actually because of my injuries and wanting to help athletes come back from their injuries themselves. Because there's often times when you're ready to come back physically, but you may not be ready psychologically. And if you're not ready psychologically and you go into tackles or your sport at all, halfway, then there's more opportunity for you to get hurt. So that was why I originally wanted to go into sports psychology.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, Josh, talk to me because she's going to get analytical over. We're all going to be crying after she finishes.
I'm going to keep it with the sports theme, man. I back in the day used to play piano.
Piano,
so, yeah, something a little bit more masculine.
All right. Yeah, not the.
I don't know. It's
not the.
Piano is pretty. There's
like a little Bruno Mars.
Put that automatic pedal on where it plays some music.
I'm rocking Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder. I don't know brothers is playing clarinet, but anyway.
I didn't know it was allowed.
We had Benny Goodman. That's what my dad was telling me. I said, Benny who? Benny Goodman.
Benny Goodman. Shout out to Benny Goodman.
Google that.
Yeah.
Second one, man, is a lot of people don't know about this, but when I was a kid, I was on on Sesame Street.
Oh, really?
Yeah, not like the full published episode,
sure.
but they had like this It's like a fundraiser, kind of like the.
Yeah.
I was just trying to think,
Money-a-thon,
which
whatever
character
thing.
would you be on Sesame Street?
Which character would I be? I would have been Cookie Monster.
100%.
Yeah, that was my guy.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I spent my whole time over there hanging out, eating cookies.
And you
So,
probably you love you some cookies, right?
for sure.
Was
Yeah.
Big Bird as nice as he seemed? Tell me.
Don't
ruin it. Never mind.
Big
Don't
Bird.
tell me.
All of them seem nice. All of them seem nice. I as a
love
kid,
it.
all of them seem nice.
Yeah.
Oscar the Grouch was still a Grouch,
Yeah.
but yeah, Cookie Monster, man.
Yeah, that's
Made
how
it on
I-
the Sesame Street episode.
That's
So,
awesome.
All right, TZ, talk to me, baby.
Well, I'm going to tell you this. I'm a very sensitive person.
Sensitive.
Very
Oh.
sensitive. A lot of people don't know that about me. And you get this bravado that you're this tough dude, but it's interesting because when you have kids, my wife is a disciplinary, not me, because your bark's louder than your bite, and they knew that they could kind of manipulate me. But I'm just very sensitive about different things. I'll cry during a movie that gets really. During Breaking Bad, I'll cry.
Nice. Not
Hey,
that
break it.
Not that
Don't
one.
give that one.
Not that one.
He's really
Not
trying
that one.
He's really trying to sell this one. Somebody out there might believe you're sensitive. Hey, that's all
I'm
good.
serious.
I was about to say, I'm not cracking any jokes on this
try
guy
it.
anymore. I'm a chill on the jokes down there.
Don't test me now. There's a difference between insensitivity and sensitivity. Okay.
He'll make you cry instead. Yeah.
That's more like it.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
And then people don't know this about me. They think I'm Hispanic, but I'm a half Cherokee Native American. So a lot of people don't know that about me. And there's a couple of things, but I don't know if I'm going to disclose that. But those are the two things that people, when they meet me or don't know about me, it's those two things: sensitivity and Native American.
So we all played sports, obviously
Yeah.
there's no question about it. And obviously we saw in contact with sports, but as a youth, when you're playing sports, what was your guys, what was your go-to sports? I mean, although you said soccer, I mean, I was a big basketball guy. I mean, I love football and football is my thing, but my favorite sports was basketball. As a matter of fact, in baseball, I played, I was a pitcher. I played 3 sports: football, basketball, and baseball. I struck out 19 batters in a 7-inning game and lost.
Wow.
Yeah. So I lost 2-1. So I had talent for that standpoint. But growing up, what sports did you guys like most? And of course, I'm gonna throw it at you, Brandy, first of all.
Quit this ladies first stuff, Tony.
Okay,
So,
I'm gonna be kind for
yeah,
right now.
yeah. So I played soccer from very young. My sister played; she's 2 years older, so I was always out at the fields with her. And then I ran track, and believe it or not, I played volleyball. So
You played volleyball.
I did.
Wow.
I was a setter. So
A setter.
I was
okay.
going to
know.
say,
Exactly,
that looks like you're.
Well, hey, Spud Blood played over the rim, so I don't take anything discount by height, so I
Right.
just want to let you know.
Right.
Hey, we can't let him walk past this. You threw 19 Ks?
Yeah, so
19 Ks
19
and lost.
still
and lost. So what was the score?
2-1.
So my question is, could you not hit?
Oh yeah.
Well, the
Good
team that we
question.
played went to the national championship. All right, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted.
You make contact a few
So
times.
it was
You won the
Connie,
game.
it was Connie Mack game. It was the team the winner of that game went to Virginia Beach to play the national championship. They had like 4 from like the the West Coast, East Coast, 4 different areas. So long story short, we're up 6-0. I mean, we're up 1-0, going to the top of the
this
6th.
story's getting crazy.
Going
It was
to-
up 6-0.
I know.
Going
and
6-0.
still-
The score ended up being 2-1.
Right.
19 strikeouts.
Going to the top of the 6th. The other thing is, I was a quarter. I threw heat. I mean, I threw smoke, and I had a curveball. Because I was a little wild, so that was to my advantage. You didn't know what you was going to get, but when that strike came, it was money. And so when I threw that curveball, my strategy is I just threw the ball right at you, and that ball would break right in the basket. And it worked. But the bottom line is, man, my dad was giving me signs behind the plate over there, and of course, hey, this is my deal,
Right.
I can't go with I can't go with the fastball, the curve. So long story short, though, I had 2 strikes on. I had 2 outs. I'd walked 1 batter, hit another batter. It was 2 on base. It wasn't a perfect game. It was just 19 strikeouts.
Stick with
Right?
19.
So
Yeah.
don't get it twisted.
That's it.
And I held him down to
They
1. But the bottom line is that the guy that I had, I knew this guy. I struck him out twice with no issue. I had an 0-2 count. My dad's telling me, he's telling me curveball, keep it outside. And so my my catcher gives me a signal, 1, but he puts the ball over here. And then he gives me 2, and I shook him off. I said, no, give me the, you go through the rotation, 3, 2, 1, fastball. I throw a fastball outside corner. He hits it out the park.
Wow.
Wait a minute. Throw it down 2-1. We go up the next inning. We don't score and we lose. And my dad's crying. They're like I told you, boy. I said, come on, man. So anyway.
You guys didn't stop and get ice cream after the game.
No, matter of fact, I had to walk home.
I had a conversation.
In that area, I had to walk home. Hey, we'll see you in about 3 hours, all right?
My era as well.
Right.
You gotta think about what you've just done.
Yes. So talk to me, Josh.
Yeah, man. So youth sports for us was, I think that was like the rite of passage, man. In Detroit, you had to play football and you had to hoop, and both of those were provided in the PAL leagues. Played for the West 7 Rams back in the day.
West 7 Rams.
West 7 Rams made it to the PAL League Championship.
Nice.
Lost 12-6 to the West Side Cubs. I'm still upset about that game.
You still remember all
Yeah,
that?
man. I remember every play of that game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hurt. But West Side Cubs, man, one of the most historic programs in Detroit, man. They produce a lot of great talent out there, NFL talent out of that program. So that was my thing, but we hooped.
I didn't know there was very much football talent that came out of the Detroit area.
He's tripping. He's tripping.
I'm needing a little bit of help over there, They had a few players coming out of Detroit. Talk to me.
It's not like a football factory.
No,
I know they got Michigan University there.
Yeah.
Michigan, first of all,
Michigan,
University of Michigan.
University.
Yeah, we can't. Don't say
the Ohio
the
State.
winningest.
Don't say that.
Ohio State University.
The winningest program in college football history.
Don't say that.
The
too late.
most recent undefeated champions, University of Michigan, about to take care of businesses. We got Bryce Underwood coming out of Michigan. Right? It's considered the top.
You paid him $14 million a year. You might as well. We'll get it.
We definitely will get it.
That's the kind of talent we produce out of Detroit.
Tom Brady.
But you guys been paying players for I don't know how long, so that's nothing over there.
That's the type of talent you pay out of Detroit.
One of the guys, type of talent we pay out of Detroit. One of the guys I went to, one of the guys I went to church with at Word of Faith, Larry Foote, Super Bowl champion, right out of Pershing High School, Doughboy Nation. Shout out to G5G and Pastor Gregory. But yeah, he's down in Tampa now coaching. I think he won another Super Bowl as a coach down there. We got, man, I don't know what y'all talking about, man. We got loads of talent coming out of the D.
I was trying to find that arbitrary list over there that says Detroit. I couldn't even find it on the arbitrary list, Hey, T, talk to me, man.
Well, I'm kind of like you. I love playing baseball. I played Pop Warner football, flag football, and I got into Pop Warner football, and there was a weight limit for carrying the ball, so I exceeded that. So
that's funny.
Your ass is going to be on the offensive line or D line, and so that was the end of my glory days. But yeah, I played baseball, and then kind of similar to your story. I played until I was a junior in high school. And we went to the Little League World Series. This was Pee Wee Reese, went to Atlanta, Georgia. It was funny because we'd always have to get past Texas because they had the team, and the regional championship was in Farmington, New Mexico. So I always thought I was going to be a baseball player. So that was kind of what I wanted to do. But then when I started getting in the weight room and lifting and started growing, my baseball years were over, but that was kind of my dream, is to be a baseball player. But it worked out good for me. But I tell you real quick that I remember when we went to our first Super Bowl, and before I decided, I told my coach, said, "Look, I'm done playing baseball. I'm focusing on football." I was like 210, and so there wasn't play catcher and third base. And I remember telling him, I said, "Look, hey, Coach, Mr. Edwards, I'm not going to play baseball anymore." And I remember it's kind of like you always remember someone that says something in your life that kind of triggers it. Because if you want to play in the next level, you definitely need to play baseball, because you're never going to make it football.
Oh, wow.
So the first Super Bowl we won, we went to, like you always have people coming out of the woodwork. First phone call I got was from Mr. Edwards.
Yeah.
Hey, Tony, how you doing? Proud of you, son. I knew you'd be a great football player. By the way, can I have is there a way I can get 2 Super Bowl tickets?
I supported you this whole time.
Right, really.
So that was kind of the path. I was the same way with that. obviously, I love golf. If I'd been exposed to that, would have been my second choice. But baseball, that was. You played all sports. That's one thing about us growing up then. You played a lot of sports.
Yeah,
everything.
What's fascinating with that, so you said sports psychology. My thesis was on optimism, pessimism, and burnout.
That's right.
Yeah, and so what we found out through that study was that if a child played multiple sports growing up, they were less likely to burn out. And so the fact of playing those multiple sports is actually a really good way to obviously make your child a lot more well-rounded, but also just to keep them interested where they're doing different things and they're not just getting burnt out from one thing. So
I think they keep kids in a box now. It's like you have to, select baseball, football, manufacture.
It's year round now.
And then just don't let kids play multiple sports. Right. And I don't know, there's the money and the monetary aspect of it, but there is definitely burnout.
I think.
What do you think about? Is that mostly an American thing, or is that like an international thing? It seems like over in Europe and some of these other countries, these kids play soccer year round. Yeah. It's kind of all they play.
Right.
And then when the World Cup and all that shows up, they're great and we suck. So I'm wondering if we had more kids that were playing soccer year round, would we be able to compete more, or would that lead to, is that an American thing, or you think that's a global
That's a great
thing?
question.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a culture thing. I just know that here the athlete is glamorized obviously by fame and making, be a professional athlete. And I think parents, they just get so focused on, instead of letting them have fun and enjoying the fundamentals of the game, it's like there's this fast track to, hey, little Johnny, he's 8 years old, he's going to be a D1 athlete. And I think they just kind of get brainwashed by that. But I think you just got to be able to let kids do what they want to do.
Right.
And then at the end of the day, when they get to 15, they're going to decide whether they want to sacrifice all the work, because it is a lot of work to go on and hopefully dream about getting to the next level.
So I'm struggling with this a little bit. I have 4 kids.
Yeah.
My oldest is 8, Isaiah, 6, Aviel, 4, Zion, and then my youngest, Elia, is 1. And so I'm trying to be a little bit strategic on what we're putting them in and why. As an example, my wife is 5'10".
And you're 5'7".
This guy, I knew he was coming.
I'm sorry.
I knew he was coming with me. 6'2".
So it's like, hey, we need to check the DNA over there.
I don't know, because check this out. I looked at this Saudi Arabia film over there. Only thing I missed was black and white. It should have been black and white film, number one. They were moving at 0 speed over there.
Speed.
The shots were taking 4 hours to go
around them so fast. They couldn't keep up.
Black and white.
They weren't used to.
Yeah.
But I digress. I just talk about your athletic career.
That's a serious question.
It is a good question.
But my daughter is in the top quartile or whatever for height.
Right.
Let's say she wants to do gymnastics. But I was I don't really think that's gonna be a great sport for you long term.
Sure.
You can invest a lot of time into this, and then just physically it doesn't work for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or let's say you got 2 parents that are short and your kid wants to play basketball and they're practicing being a power forward. It's you can practice that, but if you're 6'1", this isn't, is there any part of it where you feel man, I should really have the kids doing things that they have a chance of later opportunities in? Or at the younger age, is it just let them do it, who cares, and then eventually they'll find something to.
Well, clearly this is opinion, right? So,
yeah.
But for me, just from what I would understand is you do both, right? Especially what we just said is that doing multiple sports actually helps them burn out and helps them grow more. Yeah. So if she wants to do gymnastics, then let her do gymnastics, but then also talk to her about, hey, listen, you're in this. You're probably going to end up being 5'10" like my wife, not like me, but and so that means that
She said that too. I don't know.
I heard it.
Oh, she can get away with it. I like that. Oh, hey, she jumped from me.
Sure. So later on, you may be more successful in this, but I also want you to have fun.
Yeah.
And so if that's what you want to do right now, let's do that, and then we can go from there. But I think it's also what Tony said on are you focused on what they can be successful in and maybe get to college? college in and maybe do more past that?
Yeah.
Or are you focused right now on where they can have fun and how they can develop? Because I think there's two sides to that.
Did you guys ever burn out on anything? I felt like, man, I've been playing basketball my whole life. I played football my whole life. I mean, the only thing discouraged me from playing football further, I went on a visit to Michigan State and I met TJ Duckett. Mm-hmm. I was like, nah, bro, I ain't tackling that. I was like, yeah, bro, we can leave that. But I mean, my teams were winning. You know what I mean? So I never burned out because I enjoyed winning. I think if we were losing all the time, I'd probably.
I've got an interesting thought on that from that standpoint, and it's really one that I've regretted my whole life. Afterwards,
the clarinet.
Yeah, that's good, Brandy. Yeah.
You didn't force your kids to be.
That's why I put her over there. That's what I let you know. Hey, I couldn't have her sit right beside me over there.
You know, when I take a drink.
Well, they kind of separate you know, when you're not very musically and talented. I know by experience.
Yeah, okay.
I regret that.
You don't go there.
All right. But
you got no talent.
Yeah. But to that point is that if I can do things all over, there's one thing that I regret that I wish I had done. My oldest daughter, I come from a family, just my brother and I. I don't know anything about women other than dating them. I mean, from that standpoint, it's just my brother and I. Thank you very much. Hey, Josh, you want to switch seats?
No, I like this.
Over here.
Hey, some things just never change.
Right.
My oldest daughter, though, she wanted to throw the shot put, and probably could have been a beast. And I told her no.
Yeah.
Because I thought I didn't think it was a feminine sport.
Yeah.
But this was my ideology 40 years ago, from that standpoint. And I regret it to this day. And as a matter of fact, she helps me
regret it every day
every time I see her. But, I think she would have been awesome. And so she'll get a chance to see on the air that I acknowledge the fact that I regret the fact that I didn't let her do that.
Yeah.
Because to that point is that I think as parents that we should be able to just provide them with all the tools they need to succeed. I.e., if they want to do, jumping jacks, they want to do hockey, they want to do whatever they want to do, we need to be there to support them.
Right.
And it doesn't make a difference. I mean, as far as us trying to plan their future, one thing certain about the future, it hasn't happened. Yeah. So there's nothing that you can put a mark on. So in my opinion, if I could change anything in my life from that standpoint, as a parent, it would be that, to make sure that, and I did. I put my heart and everything that I did into it, but be more flexible. Mm-hmm. And that's one thing I think that I could have been. And I would recommend that to you. And I'm interested in hearing about you, Tony.
Well, I just think you got to keep it real and realistic. I know as a former athlete, there's expectations that people put upon your kids, and I don't want to put any more pressure on them than they already have. Mm-hmm. So I always took a step back, and I just kind of watched and I observed. And I don't judge anyone, but I just saw the parents and the coaches and youth sports, and it just run the moment for not only for the kids, but the experience as a parent, because it wasn't. And I think a little bit more about it because you lived it. Mm-hmm. And look, when I was that age in my youth sports, it was a coping mechanism to go outside. No one worried. I mean, I played everything. My parents didn't have a lot of money, so I didn't really have any choice. So you got to have the passion to do it. And I think as a parent and having kids that are young, you got to let them just kind of sort it out, have fun, not take it serious. Because I think when they get to start maturing, when they, especially for Mel, when they start getting masculinity and muscular and they start growing into it, then, okay, if that's what you want. But I think they have to have the work ethic. Mm-hmm. For me, I think that's like anything. You can't, you have to set an example, but it's got to come within. It's got to come from their soul that they want to, go that path, because it's not easy. And look, I think it's hard. It really is hard, because you feel like you're getting there's this emphasis on you that as a parent that you have to put them on all these different, select, football, baseball, whatever it may be. There's more pressure, I think, sometimes of parents to do that just to keep up with all these other parents and kids. And knowingly that the reality is that when they get to 15, you're talking about burning out, mm-hmm. It crushes. It's bad. It's bad. It's probably a lot easier on the kid than it is the parents, because parents are like, oh my gosh, I spent all this time investing. I was like, well,
and money.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a letdown, but I think ultimately it's the kid's choice, and just enjoy it and embrace it, because it goes by so fast. I mean, It sounds very trivial, but that's my experience in it.
Brandy?
No, I was just gonna say, and pressure also, like, same thing as my parents they didn't have a ton of money, but they knew soccer was gonna take me to college. And so that pressure was there, but they supported it in a different way. So it's really hard back then to have a job and play soccer at the same time, all of the practices, the games, everything. So they paid me like it was my job at that point. That was, kind of part of my allowance and all of that. And so it made it to where I had some control over it, and I just wasn't forced to do it because they knew it was going to take me to college. So, and I think just general support and understanding if they want to, shot put, play the clarinet, if they want to do gymnastics, is that they have some control over it, because oftentimes with kids, because their parents want to live through them, then it takes all the control away from the child, and it just that causes some burnout and causes some kids. Don't worry, when your daughter is in her teens, she's going to do everything against what you want her to do.
Hey, don't say that.
Right?
That's another segment right there.
Yeah.
Having a daughter,
listening to that.
totally different than having a son.
Good luck with that.
When they start knocking on that door, I got that shotgun.
So tell her right now you want her to do gymnastics, and she'll do basketball.
But part of me, like, I've never seen a very tall gymnast that's very successful. And I'm like, man,
she can be the first.
That's what I'm saying. And
set the trend.
But it's all about it's all about the process.
Simone Biles is not. She's probably not the same physicality of statue, but I think it's a.
Oh, but you know what? You can get lucky though. Okay,
yeah.
And I share that. No, you can get lucky from that perspective. My daughter, the one they were talking about, I wouldn't let shot put, wanted to play soccer, but she said, she said, hey, Dad, I would love soccer if we didn't have to run.
Right.
That's okay. Recreation soccer for you.
I'm not paying all of that.
We don't have to worry about that anymore. So you can't get lucky. There is a better side of it.
I try to balance, man, because there's so many things that we do, for lack of better words, force on our children.
Yeah.
For example, I'm not letting my kids get to 15 to figure out if they want to do math. Like, bro, you're doing it.
You're doing it.
Every night.
Right.
You're reading, right? Like, because I believe in the long term of where this is going to lead and how this impacts your life. And so from a sports standpoint, I want to be strategic that way as well and say, hey, I want this to be again, do you have to use mean average deviation in your adult life? Maybe not, but you're going to learn these things in math so that you have an opportunity at the next thing. And part of me feels that way about sport. Like, it's a driving vehicle right now that's allowing opportunities for families where they couldn't afford college to be able to go to maybe different universities you wouldn't have had access to. And I kind of, like, a lot of me doesn't want to wait till they're, 16 and they're like, man, I really wish I was a good quarterback. I'm like, man, you bet. Like, I want to have them out there slinging it. I mean, maybe 19 Ks. I don't know, but I want to have them throwing that thing now.
Well, hey,
if that's where the gift is.
And FYI, as a pitcher, when I grew up though, my neighbor, probably 3 doors down, maybe a little 4 or 5 doors down, was a Hall of Famer by the name of Tony Gwynn.
Yeah.
So,
Stop it.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the deal is, my dad though was the type of individual though. I was Joe athlete, so to speak. I mean, if I had a game, I had to practice that night. I mean, with my dad. I mean, but I enjoyed the process. So when I said I had to, I enjoyed the practice. I enjoyed going to the park, throwing, pitching, hitting the ball, whatever, before a game, after a game, all that kind of stuff. My kids thought, I was that same guy that said, I'm not gonna be like my dad.
It worked out. Why not?
But I find myself just like my dad in terms of things. I'm in terms of being tough on my kids and working them hard, because all I want them to be the best they can be. And as being their parents, you know what they're capable of being, so to speak. So that was my downside probably with them, but that's the way that I came up, so to speak. And so it was huge from that perspective.
You were on a little league team with Tony Gwynn?
No, Gwen played. He actually.
I want to know, like, because I know 19 years would have got you.
No, Gwen was a year behind me, so he was a year behind me. He was a year, but when we go to the park, his dad would be over there. We go to the park our games are on Saturday or Sunday morning. You see us both. He'd be over here, and my dad would be over here.
You
weren't
see us
pitching
both. To him?
No, my dad would be pitching to me, and he was the worst pitcher in the world. But maybe that's why I could hit so well.
Was he looking at you, looking at Tony Gwynn over there, and saying, "Why couldn't Tony Gwynn be my son?"
Tony and I are about that thin, Now, rest his soul, God rest his soul, But hey, we're big boys now, But back then, hey, we were there, and I have a lot of friends that say, "Man, I just wish I had a Mr. Hill, or I wish I had a Mr. Gwynn," And I use those same instincts or things, philosophical approach with my kids. I coach AAU basketball, and the primary reason was for my kids. It chapped my behind to have a coach who didn't know nothing about basketball, who was screaming or football.
That was my biggest challenge.
Yeah, they got this guy who never played a game, but he's got his son. They just didn't get it. So I took on the role of coaching. But here's one of the things that you may appreciate in terms of you just one item, but from a philosophical standpoint, basketball game. We're playing a game, playing basketball. My guys, if they were going for a layup, they had to shoot the ball with their left hand on the left side. If they didn't shoot it with the left side, you know what? I benched them. Mm-hmm. I didn't care if they missed it. Of course, I wanted them to make it, but I didn't care if they missed it. I just wanted them to try. And if they didn't do it, so be it. And I benched. They can tell you that today, right now. As a matter of fact, I had one guy who went down and slammed the ball. This guy's a hell of an athlete. His name was Kevin Smith. The rest of his soul as well. Outstanding. He played at Wake Forest, defensive end, linebacker, tight end at Wake Forest over there. That's the kind of athlete he was. But he went up to slam dunk a ball, threw it down, and we were playing at the Kingwood tournament in Houston, right? Mm-hmm. Threw it, probably one of the most awesome slams I've seen. He got fouled, and everybody, whoa, whoa. I said, hey, man, if you want to impress me, make the free throw.
Right.
That's exactly what I told him. He's all, wow. We're in the heat of the game. And, hey, I need you to make the free throw if you want to be a player. That's the kind of values I instilled in my kid. He missed it.
I thought he didn't dunk with the left hand. That's why you benched him.
But here's a good thing. You guys are listening to me. That's what I like. If anything, I know you're listening to me, so I appreciate that.
Don't you think sports, though, is great for kids' development? I know that because it just keeps you more structured. There's adversity. There's, you don't get playing time. I think in a great environment like it teaches you so many life skills. You don't have to be a high school or college D1 athlete, professional athlete. It just teaches you so much, the team aspect of it. Even like in corporate America, there's so many things that go together with that. And I think that that's the best life lesson for kids to get them involved in sports because they learn a lot, experience a lot. Failure is good. Yeah. Failure is a good thing.
Yep. That's what gets me we can get into the whole trophies for all. Yeah. But I think in general, they won't make the team. They don't win every game. I think there's a lot life lessons in that for sure.
Awesome. Yeah. So, again, I'm the guy that digress and probably overdo that from that perspective, from that standpoint. But we've all played sports here, and that's a good thing from the standpoint of this conversation. I want to talk football. I want to talk to NFL. But I want to take a step back. I want to go to NIL, okay? Because I think that's an interesting topic, and I want your thoughts on that from the standpoint of what are your views on NIL? Here you guys, you got a guy, Shedeur Sanders. Let's look at him right now. Obviously in the draft, we may allude back to that, but he doesn't get picked up. But the bottom line, he's making $4.8 million a year
Why would
in
you
college.
Come out?
Yeah, well, he was a senior. He had to come out. He probably would have stayed. But you got Cooper Flagg with Duke over here. Yeah. He's going to be a first round draft pick. But again, they've got minimal salary, so to speak, for those guys. But here's a guy that's going to make $8.2 million a year. Can you believe that? Where are we going? Tell me what you think about that.
I think it's crazy. I think that I'm all pro player for sure.
Absolutely.
There's so many aspects of college football. It's just really, for me personally, just myself, it's hard to watch because you understanding NIL, understanding the motivation, which I'm all for making as much money as you can. But I think the NCAA, whenever they became the Wild Wild West, there really is no structure. There's no salary cap. More importantly, it's when I go back when I was 17, 18 years old, and you're a 5-star athlete. And someone wants to offer you $1 million, I don't know how I would even act it. I had no money and I wouldn't know how to manage it. So there's so many things that come in place, and I think it just takes the focus off. For me, I think it's the fans and the alumni who really are getting the short end of this deal. And again, I think players need to be paid. But I think now it's all about pay me now and I'll play later, which is good. That's where we're at. But I think some of these smaller cap team or not smaller but markets, they can't compete with Texas, Ohio State, A&M. I mean, the SC out, I'm sorry, what?
He booed your Ohio State mention, I think.
Yeah,
so,
Michigan, Tom Brady.
Yeah.
They're paying.
They couldn't compete with us before.
So, here's the thing on my biggest opinion on this is if you're getting paid, you're a professional athlete. Yeah. If you want to have the most followers on social media, you got to be able to handle the criticism you're going to get. Mm-hmm. If you're not out there and you're not balling and you're making $4 or $5 million, it's an NFL franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
I mean, there's development, but if you're 18 years old, that notion, he's only 18 years old and he's mature. No, you're getting paid. So fans feel like that it's their obligation to give their opinion, to give their criticism. Mm-hmm. And some guys just can't handle it. So I think there's a couple of parts to it, but I just remember back in the day when you get those $1,000 handshakes. I was fine with that.
Yeah, where did you get those? I never got those $1,000 handshakes. I didn't get the $20 handshake. I just want you to know that. Hey,
right.
University of Oklahoma.
Oh, that's right.
They do those in Saudi Arabia.
But, they did
Saudi Arabia. They just gave you a palace over there.
Well, it's funny though, and my teammate Tony Dorsett. I'll just go with that. We were at a game. And we're sitting here in Dallas. We're at it was the NCAA Final Four. Mm-hmm. It was in Dallas, right? And one of his coaches walked up to him. This is my rookie year. He walks up to him. He goes, "Hey, T, how's it feel to take a cut and pay playing for the Dallas Cowboys?" I was like, "Wait, he doesn't even know me." And he made this comment. I said, "Are you serious?" I'm not going to tell you what Coach said this, but I promise, God is my witness. He says this openly to me, and Tony goes, "It was a tough one, man."
And he didn't even play for SMU.
Right, that's right.
Yeah, right.
Very good.
Yeah,
hey. Yeah.
Well, Tony brings up the best point for me that I've realized is that, especially from my perspective and psychology and all of that, I used to say, "Oh, that poor kid who missed that field goal," or "Oh, that poor kid who threw that interception at the end of whatever college game." Now I'm like, hey, he's getting paid. It's a completely different fan perspective. The one thing I hate is that there's no loyalty even with the money. They still go into the portal. They still leave the school that gave them that money. So that's the only thing for me is I wish there was some sort of contract where fans could get behind it. I remember studying sport management is way back then it was guys who were coming out of college after only 1 year going into the NFL and not having the fan base. And so NFL, NBA wanted guys who are a little bit longer in college so that they brought a fan base with them. And it's the same thing now. They jump around and it's just so interesting that it's more about their followers than the fan base that it can bring to the organization. And the fact that it's at a $2 billion, $2.5 billion industry now is just fascinating to me.
Transfer portal, to your point, transfer portal to me is it's a joke.
Mm.
Mm-hmm. No, so Josh, I got an opinion as well.
Man, I'm gonna tell you, I got to lean over a little bit. I'm on the polar opposite end of this thing. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of it, for a couple reasons, man. These guys have been generating so much money for these universities. You're building new stadiums. You're actually paying for the majority of these schools that we're talking about. Are paying for, a lot of their Title IX and different other programs based upon what these guys are doing. So there's other schools, other athletes that are getting full rides or
because of football.
Because of the football team. They're bringing and the idea of them being professional athletes. I mean, let's keep it real. They already were professional athletes.
Right.
They just weren't paid for it. I mean, you got guys going to some of these universities that aren't hitting any of the academic metrics that school requires for anybody else. Why do they have you there? Because I'm paying this coach $5 million a year and we need him to win and you can help to do that. And so they brought a tremendous amount of that. I remember looking it up back in the day when RG3 was at Baylor, his value of being there was like $250 million in his Heisman season. And you look at Michigan and a Big Ten network and it's not even free to watch the games anymore. Yeah. Like on TV, you have to be a part of I have to subscribe to the Big Ten network or the Peacock and this and that, even to watch the game. So the ADs are making crazy money. The coaches are making insane money. I'm not going to say which SEC coach it is that owns Ferrari dealerships now and grocery stores and that, and set up his family forever. But I'm looking at all these guys make this money. and then the student athletes aren't really getting a fair shake out of it. And the NIL is allowing them to do that. From a loyalty standpoint, I watched Brian Kelly have a Notre Dame team that was close to getting picked to go to the college playoffs or the college championship game. But because he left before their bowl game and went down to LSU, I think it was, they were disqualified. I said, yo, that's wild. Or think about a year ago where Florida State was undefeated?
Yeah.
Their quarterback got hurt. An undefeated team was not allowed to play in a bowl game because of one guy.
That's true. That's good.
I can't be convinced that guy isn't worth $3 million, $4 million, like whatever they're making from it. So the loyalty thing, I think it's market value, man. Like, if you got eyeballs and here's the last thing I'll say to it. Movie stars, Macaulay Culkin and all these people, they were making loads of money at 11, 12 years old.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of different markets where they got really young people that are making lots of money. And are they responsible with it? I don't know. Here's the other.
Is that a point though? I mean, I don't think that has anything to do with the issue itself. I mean, are they responsible with the money that they make? I don't think that has anything to do with it.
I agree because that's been an argument though that like, hey, people are getting a lot of money and then they lose it. Yeah. And I'm like, well, they're losing it when they're adults too. You know what I mean? So exactly. when we justify, so I'm big NIL, man. I support it. I hope my son gets a $20 million.
I gotta disagree because I look at NIL and I'm pro player.
Yeah, I know.
But there's no structure, and to me that's great. Yeah, get your pocketbook out. Hey, trust me. In 1986 we won a national championship at Oklahoma. So what does that worth?
Was that the last time? No.
Yeah, no, we won in 2000. That would be the Cowboys. That would be the Cowboys. That was 95.
I was just getting ready to talk about Stanford until you made that comment. Right? So I'm gonna kind of back off on that.
But my point being is that it's great. I want every athlete, and a lot of these guys may not get the opportunity to play in the NFL.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But who are you shortchanging? As far as student athlete, you're basically saying they're not students anymore. They don't get a degree, so there's no value on that. Let's just go fast track that. And you're 4 years, and then the transfer portal, it perpetuates into 9-10 years of guys playing in college football. I understand that, but the money aspect of it, look, I think everyone is entitled to that. But before they started, like they took the blinders off, there was no structure. We're going to pay everyone. And also, when you talk about guys opting out, you go to a bowl game and fans pay, and I'm all about the fan. They pay to watch their team, and they got 15 guys that are opting out, and they're sitting there watching high school kids.
Good point.
Is that fair to the fans? I totally. It's about the product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's a product, and if you're worried about just getting paid and not perform, I'm all about getting paid and perform. Perform. Would you please perform? Mm-hmm. The kid from Tennessee, Nico, that shopped himself around and wanted like $5 million, ended up making less in UCLA. That was totally immature. Mm-hmm. I don't know who gave him the advice on that. So I think there's a twofold there. They don't have anything that the rules. I don't think anyone understands the rules of what the parameters of NIL and certainly the transfer portal. Explain that to me.
Well, I disagree from the standpoint of totally immature with Nico making that transfer, because the bottom line is that
maybe that's better choice of words.
Yeah, but from the standpoint of seeking to get the most that you can, that's what this has brought about though. I mean, the bottom line is that the athletes are playing for the money. And not to say that's a bad thing, but it's changed the perspective of the whole game. Now, here at Stanford, you got the student athlete. They play 4 years, so you don't have to worry about losing your fan base because they're going to stay in school, Brandy.
Stanford,
that student athlete over there. I just thought I'd share that with you.
You're an intelligent person. Is that what you want?
No, I can't say that because I didn't get the $1,000 handshake. If I was,
but you got the degree.
If I was intelligent,
you got the degree in the cerebral. altitude.
Hey, hey guys, man, we could talk all day. And matter of fact, there's so much more. I've got a list of stuff that we need to talk about, but I've got a sign that says, Tony, 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Tony, your time is up. So with that being said, though, part of our stick, part of our show, and the thing that really irks me right now is that I didn't introduce, two things. One, I didn't talk about my relationship with God because I want to bless our show. I don't do anything without going through Him. We can do all things through God who gives us the strength to accomplish. So I want to put that down right now. Two, I didn't have my Super Bowl ring on. I've never come to one of these shows without my Super Bowl ring. I feel lost. But having you guys on board really makes me feel good. And so with that being said, I want to close by asking you guys a question. First of all, I'm going to go with the young lady again.
Oh, gosh.
Breakfast with the boys. What is your favorite breakfast?
Favorite breakfast ever?
Ever.
I'm going to go with breakfast tacos.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm. It can be just such a variety.
Would that be your go-to now, though?
Yes.
Ooh,
and a pancake.
All right. And a pancake.
Yep. Gotta have the pancake on the side.
Won't mess with those donuts, but she'll have the pancake in there.
Right.
All right, Josh, talk to me.
Yeah, man. I appreciate what you're saying about the Lord. I 100% echo that. And also, I got to give a shout out when I'm talking about my breakfast because I married a supermodel. Her name is Christy Liggins.
Boy.
Christy, baby. Not only looks good, is very smart, and makes the best.
5'10".
And it's 5'10". Hey, 5'10", all the way. All the way. Selective breeding. Breeding athletes. Yeah. But she makes the best pancakes, man. Nice. You will ever have. She puts like the cinnamon and
just
all
let
this
me know
stuff
what time
in
to
there.
be there.
Hey, you got the invite. Come up to Detroit anytime. But yeah, Christy's breakfast pancakes are the best for me.
Nice.
T, you got the last word.
There you go with chorizo. Chorizo. Oh, yeah. Breakfast tacos. Anything wrapped in a tortilla is pretty good. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm more of a breakfast guy. That would have been my go-to thing. And as far as pancakes, I love pancakes with peanut butter on top of them.
Ooh.
Peanut butter?
Yeah. That's kind of it. Yeah, so.
Anybody that can roll those R's like that, got to be Hispanic. Yep. Chorizo. I like it. Hey,
I've had practice with that,
Tony,
for sure.
what's yours?
Well, my favorite breakfast is anything that you put, and you tell anything that you put in front of it.
You used to be this skinny.
Yeah, I told you I love you. Yeah.
Was it defensive lineman? Yeah. Oh, were you wide receiver?
Oh. Hey, cut that, Tyler.
Well, edit that one out.
He rubbed off on me.
Hey, he's got that Daryl House shirt on, and you know what? I dig that totally, man. That Daryl House, and I'm a big fan of Hall & Oates. But hey, we got to close. Hey, I had a great show. I'd love to have you guys back on because I missed like 80% of the content that I wanted to discuss, but it was going such good content. I truly enjoyed it. So let's do it again. Thank you guys for watching Breakfast with the Boys.
Have you ever took a journey to the other side? Come on, take a ride. Have you ever took a journey? We gon' feel alive.